Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. Turns out that making teens dwell on their mental health made their mental health get worse and not better. That's basically the main takeaway from this new study uploaded on Science Direct to the Behavior Research and Therapy Journal. About 1,000 teens aged around 13 years old in Sydney, Australia were subjected to 8 weekly sessions of dialectical behavior therapy, which is a form of talk therapy as part of the WISE Teens program. Part of this training included journaling throughout the day about their level of mental distress and rating how well they respond to identifying what they were feeling, why they were feeling it, and how they reacted to feeling it. We are told because we live in a managerial, bureaucratic state run by self-styled scientists who've forgotten God, that this is the gold standard for making everyone the same homogeneous and easily controlled cogs in the machine. Forget moral values, traditions, families, a sense of meaning and purpose, a telos, meaning and end goal. It's all about dispassionately analyzing every little thought that flickers through our minds and then choosing the most efficient course of action, which isn't always the best or most just course of action. However, since we are talking about emotions, the whole dispassionate part never really comes to fruition. So instead, what you have is young people being told to dwell on their feelings, completely divorced from any objective moral framework. And so they get stuck on constantly thinking about themselves and how they feel subjectively, which changes from time to time. Now, I've written about this before in my only Substack publication, that young people are prone to a certain form of narcissism, where you think about yourself so much that you delude yourself into thinking that everyone else thinks about you just as much as you think about you. Hence the example I give in that piece, which is the proverbial teen who's afraid to go to school because of a pimple on their face or a stain on their shirt. As you grow up and you have more important things to worry about, you completely forget about those youthful worries. You think, who cares? But we have a broken chain of maturation where adults are supposed to be helping the young grow into wise adults as well. But instead, we're all just stuck being immature Disney adults, basically big kids who act like we're all still in high school with the same heightened levels of narcissism and emotional immaturity. We're just not growing out of it anymore. The study found at the end that, quote, immediately post-intervention, WISE Teens participants also reported increased emotional dysregulation, lower emotional awareness, and lower quality of life. At follow-up, most of the significant deteriorations and outcomes in the WISE Teens condition relative to control at immediately post-intervention had dissipated. Nevertheless, WISE Teens participants continue to report significantly poorer quality of relationships with their mother and father compared with the control condition, end quote. And so speaking of the control group, meaning the kids who didn't have to go through the talk therapy sessions, the study notes that these kids reported clinically significant levels of improvement in their emotional well-being and in their relationships with their parents over the same time frame. The study specifically uses the word spontaneously. But what I think happened is that parenting isn't easy. And that as parents watch their kids grow up, kids watch their parents grow up too. Which is to say that all these talk therapy groups heavily coded in therapeutic state and left-wing coded language will tell you that any minor mistake by one's parent is literally trauma that will haunt them forever. When 9 times out of 10, it really isn't that deep. It's really not a microaggression. So a fight between a kid and their parent one week might seem like the end of the world, but if the kid isn't being told to just dwell on those feelings of anger nonstop and they're able to just get over it and come to a resolution with their parent, then of course things will get better for them. You can call that spontaneous, but it's really not. This all leads me to ask, how come the more we're pushing therapy everywhere as a universal intervention, as the Sydney study is trying to get it into all schools for all students, the more people need therapy? Now, I'm not saying that therapy can't be beneficial in certain individual circumstances, but the mass promotion of it is having a considerably negative side effect on us all. This usually is pushed under the guise of social emotional learning here in the US, which is a dangerous partner to CRT and other woke agendas being pushed on children in our schools, because it can pretend to be some neutral tool when it's not neutral. And on the other hand, it's used to crush kids who have a lot of energy and they have big imaginations and they don't want to be stuck being lectured at for 6 hours every day. Because then those kids are told that they have something psychologically wrong with them when they don't. But oftentimes those drugs that they're put on can cause the very problems they set out to protect against, much like that study we just talked about, creating more mentally distressed youngsters by trying to stop it.